Oh, shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another special episode of the Corcoran Cap. We did one yesterday talking about the 49ers, and we're doing one today talking about March Madness. I'm your host, Sam Corcoran, coming from Zach's basement. Zach, obviously, right next to me. First in-person podcast I've ever done, Zach. So glad you're a part of it. And in the right corner, guy you might not recognize, Austin Barrick. Austin, it's been a minute. I mean, I've never had you on here. Glad to finally have you on here. But how are you guys doing today?
Zach?
I'm good. I mean, we got back from New York. We're sitting in my basement.
Mm-hmm.
We're making do.
Yeah, great day here in Mass. Play some pickup ball at Emerson Park. Looking forward to talk some March Madness.
Beautiful. Always fun to talk about March Madness. And I thought we'd start off by talking about the obviously the bracket came out, but let's talk about the last four in and the first four out first. The bubble was always something. I know us three were always like chatting about the bubble, who's getting in, who's getting not. So the last four in, you had Rutgers, Notre Dame, Wyoming, Indiana. The first four out, you had Dayton, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and who's the other team I'm forgetting? It's another team. Xavier, yes, Xavier.
Wait, no, it wasn't Xavier, it's SMU.
Oh, SMU. Okay. But yeah, okay. So those are the first four out, last four in. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Either Austin or Zach, whichever one wants to start it off. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I guess I'll start. I think A&M deserved a shot to be in. Obviously, the committee watches more basketball than we do. It's literally their job. And, we get back spring break. We're turning on these conference tournament games. And so we see, oh, wow, look at this A&M team coached by Buzz Williams. You love that energy. And they're playing with heart. They beat Auburn pretty badly. They beat Arkansas pretty badly. And so you figure that should be enough to boost the resume. Obviously they had those 8 straight losses during the season. But they kind of got worked by Tennessee. I thought they should have been in. Other than that was really my only qualm, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I had an issue. I mean, obviously, you got to take into account the whole season. Texas A&M didn't have the greatest start, but they were hot at the end of the season. And you look at a team that wasn't on the bubble in Michigan, who their coach was out for 5 games of the regular season. They're an 11 seed with 14 losses. I don't think you can realistically, if it were me anyways, you can't put that team in over Texas A&M, who I think had a great conference tournament run. And I think it's a little disrespectful to put Michigan in, at least not even in the first four in. They're in. So,
but like I was thinking about like that Michigan thing, and people are upset at that, and rightfully so. But wasn't the same thing with Syracuse last year? Syracuse was a bubble team, and then I'm gonna say Syracuse, we avoided the play-in altogether, make a run to the Sweet 16. So I don't know. Maybe the committee just values like the brand names a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always been the case. And I think, Austin, you kind of brought up a point on Twitter I saw where Duke got the 2 seed instead of Tennessee, even though Tennessee probably had a better year because brand name, Coach K's last year, all that stuff. So I definitely agree with the brand name thing. I definitely think it is a bit disrespectful to put Michigan as a bye. I thought they were going to be first four. That would be their highest place to go. To get a bye is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. I think they definitely should have gone a bit lower in my opinion.
Especially over a team in their conference like Rutgers, who I think
who was a better team.
Flat out was a better team and had a better year than them.
Exactly. No, I totally agree with that.
And also Indiana who they lost to.
I mean, they lost to Syracuse, so
yeah,
they don't deserve to be in the tournament, in my opinion.
Hey, Colgate made it though, so I don't know. But anyways, yeah, it's just like it's definitely interesting to see how Michigan they get that brand recognition. I think the fact that they must be accounting for the fact that Juwan Howard's coming back and he was back in the tournament, the Big Ten tournament. But overall, a very interesting decision. I was also surprised to see of the first 4 out teams, A&M was the 4th option. I thought they were going to be either the last team out or the first team out or the last team in, I should say. Definitely surprised to see them as the 4th team out. A team like Oklahoma over them really surprised me. I didn't really see that was not on many people's radars as Oklahoma in that range of the first 4 out. I thought a lot of people were thinking next 4 out or even further for them. But for them to be the second team to replace it, almost making the tournament, is definitely an interesting decision by the committee.
Well, Oklahoma, they got Porter Moser out of, off from Loyola Chicago. And, credit to them, they did beat that Baylor team, which I know we're going to talk about later, but pretty shaky on the one line there. But yeah, at that point, if you're A&M, wouldn't it just sting more to be the first team out? I mean, at that point, you're like, let's just go to the NIT. I don't know.
I mean, it's a good run. I just think it stings if you're missed the tournament either way and you're a bubble team. I just think overall they should have made it over a team. Honestly, I think the fact that Michigan got a bye just shows that they had no shot in topping Michigan. I think if any team, they should have made it over probably either Indiana or Wyoming. My pick would have been Wyoming, in my opinion. I think the committee picking Indiana makes sense considering they love the out-of-conference schedule. The Big Ten, always a power conference, probably the best conference in college basketball. So it makes sense why they made it in, but I think they could have made it over.
You say the Big Ten was the best conference in college basketball?
Yeah.
No, I'm with Zach. That's a disagreement from me.
What do you guys think it is?
I mean, the Big Ten, I believe, has not won an NCAA championship in about
22 years.
22 years, 24 years.
They have 19. They had 9 teams last year, and I believe only one of them advanced to either the Elite Eight or the Sweet 16. Even 1 out of 9. So to put a team like Michigan in there, just because they're in the Big Ten, I think is a little disrespectful to the teams outside of the tournament. If that's your reasoning behind, is just because they're in the Big Ten.
It shouldn't be their reasoning, but I'm saying, like, if you have a team, their strength of schedule is definitely going to be a bit higher, in my opinion. So that's why.
I mean, yeah, the Big Ten, their brand of basketball is fundamentally sound, I guess, but I'd still take the Big 12 over them. And I think the SEC has some stronger teams as well than the Big Ten.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, I think the thing, you're definitely right about the SEC. I think Big East, Big 12 also there. But Big Ten, I think those are like the Power Four right there. Big 10, Big East, Big 12, SEC. So overall, definitely an interesting bubble. Zach's on the phone call right now. He's about to come back. Let's get right into the bracket, the teams that did make it. And starting with the West region, with Gonzaga, Georgia State, Boise State, Memphis, UConn, New Mexico, all those teams right there. Austin, I'll let you start. Is there a team in particular that stands out to you as a sleeper team?
As a sleeper team, no. I think I see it relatively chalky. I will say, Vermont. A lot of people will be picking Vermont. The Catamounts are 27-5, 28-5. They run the American East or the America East or whatever. So
they
for Arkansas,
too.
Huh?
They dominated that tournament too. They kept blowing out all their opponents.
Yeah, they won. Yeah, to your point, they won convincingly. So for Arkansas to travel up to Buffalo, New York, the Catamounts might get travel well there, and then Arkansas, UConn. That was kind of my nightmare situation because I have a soft spot for both those teams, both those programs and coaches, Musbus and Dan Hurley. I'm hoping they can match up, and I think both deserve to go to the Sweet 16, but of course only one can. But I think that's like the main potential matchup I'm looking at in that top section.
Yeah, I agree. Vermont is going to be a popular pick. I think one of the guys on the broadcast last night mentioned that they play kind of similar to how Colgate played last year, which is a team that Arkansas struggled with in the first round, and a team that a lot of people picked to beat Arkansas last year. Obviously, they won. I'm going to say my sleeper team, and it's a deeper pick here, is going to be New Mexico State against UConn. Do I think they're going to win? Not necessarily, but you have a pretty balanced roster. And Teddy Allen is a guy who he's a big guard. And I think he might be the most productive player on either of the teams. Obviously, UConn's got better players, but or overall, but a guy that averaged 19.3 points a game, almost 7 rebounds, I believe. That's a guy that's going to be dangerous for UConn. And New Mexico State overall is a pretty high scoring team. Obviously, they haven't played anyone in the top 25, but I think they can give this UConn team a run for their money very sneakily.
Absolutely. I definitely think New Mexico State is a good team. They just got put in a very unfortunate situation with a UConn team who I think is a very good program, has a very good shot at making a run in this tournament. I have them losing to Arkansas in the round of 32. As you said, Austin, that's going to be a very good matchup. I like this Arkansas team a lot. And I'm going to talk about them more in a sec, but I want to talk about a sleeper team in the 10 seed, the Davidson Wildcats right there. They go up against Michigan State. This team is very good at rebounding. This team is very good overall with the ball and all that stuff. They're going to get a good game against Duke in the second round. And you know what? Give me the Wildcats for that game. I'm going to say Davidson upsets Duke. They match up very well against that team. They rebound very well. They know how to defend size. I'm going to have the Davidson Wildcats in the Sweet 16. That's my upset for this.
Yeah. As much as I think we would all love to see Coach K lose to an in-state smaller school, I don't know how the A10 runner-up can match up to Duke's size with Paulo, Mark Williams, and even Theo John, even though I don't think he's very skilled at the game of basketball. And your rebounding point, I would just like to counter that. They rank almost 300th in offensive rebound percentage, and they're going to need to get some second chance points.
They get the defensive board very well.
I'm gonna be honest. On a roster where their tallest player is about 6'10", got a couple guys that are 6'10". I don't even know if either of them play. Matching up against a team with Mark Williams and Paolo Banchero in their starting lineup, you're going to struggle rebounding the ball. I mean, you saw Syracuse had issues rebounding the ball. I'm not saying this is a similar team. Davidson will struggle rebounding the ball against a taller team, a more skilled team in the ACC that's not in the Atlantic 10, and a team that, they're going to be looking to make some waves considering it's Coach K's last run in the tournament.
That's fair.
Yeah. And now they might not even get past Michigan State,
That is true. I definitely think that would be a close game. I think overall Davidson can pull it out. I mean, I think overall, yes, they lost in their conference championship, but overall, I mean, a 6-loss season is always phenomenal. I mean, it doesn't matter really what conference you're in. A 6-loss season is always something, it's always a plus to have. And usually if you're in a conference like the A10, like one of those bigger mid-major conferences, you're always going to be a threat to make the tournament. Take Loyola Chicago, for example, who I know we're going to talk about later. They had somewhere around that range for wins and losses, and they're always a threat in this tournament, even though they're a 10 seed.
They're a threat. I'll give you that. Do you see their point guard? I'm not going to claim that I've watched a lot of Davidson, but their point guard against Richmond is this little dude who's like kind of slow too. And apparently he transferred out of Michigan State, and that's like a rivalry or something. So
that'll be interesting.
Guys might have something to play against him for. So I don't know. I think, I would love to see them upset Duke. I'm doubtful that'll happen.
And Michigan State's a pretty scrappy team too. Just throwing it out there. Like, you can't really discount them, even though I do think Davidson will win that matchup against Michigan State. I think they are a slightly better team, but you can't count Michigan State out.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely think Michigan State, another team that got put in a very tough matchup. I think there was some matchups earlier on that bracketologists were predicting, and they got one of the worst matchups they can have, in that opinion. Overall, in my opinion, I think the winner of this conference is going to come out between the Sweet 16 matchup that I have between Arkansas and Gonzaga. And I don't want to discredit Texas Tech as well. I think they're going to probably make the Elite Eight. I think that's a team that can definitely take down Duke if they make the Sweet 16. I have Davidson there, but Texas Tech should win that game. I have Arkansas beat Gonzaga. I definitely have a soft spot for that team as well. They play very well. Musselman's a fantastic coach, and give me Arkansas to head to New Orleans for the Final Four.
I like the bold take, Sam. Like, I like that you're going out on a limb there. But the fact that they were an Elite Eight team last year with Moses Moody, who I'm sure you're familiar with his work now that he's a Golden State Warrior. But to lose him, I know Note took a step up, and they got Tate, and they got Umudu or whoever. They got some guards, and of course, I love Jalen Williams. But UConn presents an awfully good matchup for them. Like UConn's got RJ Cole, they got Andre Jackson, Tyrese Martin, they got Sanogo down low. They got some dudes. That'll be a dogfight that I don't know if they can survive.
I'm gonna put my take out on this. Granted, I said I would never bet on Arkansas again after last year, considering I had them winning the whole tournament with Moses Moody. I do have them in my Elite Eight. I'm going back and watching a little bit of film to see how they match up against a pretty tough run that they have coming against. Obviously, Vermont, the 13 seed, but UConn potentially, Gonzaga can potentially. I don't think they can beat consecutively UConn, Gonzaga, and one of Texas Tech or Duke. As much as I like JT Notte, Moses Moody was better than him last year. I 100%. Think this team generally was better last year, and they couldn't make it past the Elite Eight. So I do not see them making it past the Elite Eight this year.
Yeah.
100%. But that's our predictions for the West bracket. Now let's move on to the South, headlined by Arizona as the 1 seed. I'll give a team that I think a lot of people have as an underdog. They got a pretty good matchup for their first game. Chattanooga absolutely ran through the SoCon this year. They had a buzzer. They had to make a buzzer beater to make the tournament, but don't let that distract you from the fact that the Mocs dominated all year, and they're a fantastic team for a mid-major school. They have fantastic talent that can compete with other people, with other teams in the Big Ten, the Big East, all those power conferences. I think that the Mocs can take down Illinois and move on to the round of 32. I know they have Kofi Coburn. I know that, but I just think Chattanooga is a very well-rounded team. A 4 versus 13. This is your classic 4 versus 13 upset this year. I think Chattanooga takes it down. The other team I want to point out, it's 2 teams. Let's talk about the 8-9 matchup between Seton Hall and TCU, because I think this is going to be one of the best games to watch all tournament. I think that's going to be such a contested game. Both teams, I don't watch much of them, but from the stuff I've seen for both teams, I really enjoyed watching both teams this year. They have great play styles. They know how to play the game, smart teams. I definitely think whoever wins this game is going to take on Arizona, and they're going to give them a pretty good run for their money, in my opinion. Arizona, I'm not too high on, in my opinion. I definitely think I think they're a good team, but I definitely think that I think they're on upseller. I think they can. I think Seton Hall or TCU can definitely take them down in the second round. Those are 2 very solid teams looking to make a good push going forward.
They could give them a push if Kirk Reese's ankle doesn't heal. If you guys saw the picture of that he posted today, it's multicolored. So hopefully his ankle can heal up. I think Arizona is one of the best teams in college basketball. But TCU, to your point, they're a good team. They got a lot of quality wins. Of course, they play in the Big 12. Seton Hall's, they're a fine Big East team. TCU, I wanted to share your optimism there, Sam, but I looked at some stats that were pretty discouraging for them. They are, get this, the worst 3-point shooting team in the field of 68. They rank 329th. And they also are one of the worst free throw shooting teams. I think they're like under 70% there. And obviously to pull off upsets, you need to hit threes and you need to hit your free throws late. So that would be my concern there.
Yeah, I have Seton Hall winning the 8-9 matchup. That has nothing to do with me being from New Jersey, or being the child of Seton Hall alums, or a Seton Hall alum. Has nothing to do with that. I'm gonna go off track for a sec. And there was a LeVar Ball interview a few years ago where he said if Steph Curry was on UCLA, he would shoot the team out of the gym. I believe Seton Hall will shoot TCU out of the gym in this matchup. They are just an all-around better team, in my opinion. To take on your Arizona take, I have Arizona making it to New Orleans. I'm not going to come out in front about that. I think Arizona is the best team in college basketball right now, all around. Obviously, they have more on the offensive side than they do on the defensive side. But I think Arizona will rip through this side of the bracket. Seton Hall will not pose much of a threat to them as much as I do think they will beat TCU. I think Arizona will beat them handily. I think they could beat whoever comes out, whether it be Houston, Illinois, Chattanooga, somehow UAB. And I think they could take on anyone from the lower half of this bracket. So yeah, if you wish to argue that, be my guest.
I mean, I'm not arguing that they're not a good team. They're one seed for a reason. I definitely think that other teams can give them a challenge. I know they're a very well-rounded team. I know I said that TCU could give them a run for their money, but I mean, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely going to be a close game no matter what. I do like the point that you made with one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the country with TCU. That is definitely true. And I think Arizona can definitely capitalize on that and move forward. I also think TCU can capitalize on the other stuff that they do as well and move forward.
They could. I don't know. I'm with Zach on this one. I think Arizona reaches New Orleans. With that said, the bottom side of this region with Villanova and Tennessee, man, this was a tough shake for those two teams. Both those teams I would power rank in my top 8. Unfortunately, only one has the potential chance to do so. They seem destined for a collision course. Of course, some of these teams could play spoiler to that, but this was the one that I went to sleep last night uncertain about, but I'm giving the slight edge to Villanova. I'll giving the edge to Jay Wright versus Rick Barnes in a tournament situation.
And I have Villanova making the Final Four.
I want you guys to absolutely rip me for this because I know you did it at lunch that I took him out to today. I have Loyola Chicago squeaking by Villanova in the round of 2.
Yeah.
I know you're disappointed in that. I did hear a few people talking about this. They match up very similarly. They play very similarly. They're very tough defensively. Loyola Chicago statistically does not guard the 3 insanely well. I believe they rank 65th in the nation overall in 3-point percentage allowed. But sneakily, I think they're going to defend the 3 very well and just defend Villanova overall better than Villanova will guard them. It's going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously, Villanova is going to be heavily, heavily favored if that does end up being the matchup. But I'm putting Villanova on upset alert in the round of 32.
Actually, yeah, the more Zach talked about that, the more I don't hate it. Loyola's been here before. They're top 10 in the country in 3-point shooting. I'm not picking them, though. Actually, I think Ohio State ruins the party for them. Chris Holtman and EJ Liddell, after getting upset by Oral Roberts last year, I think they get revenge and win exactly one game. But if they had Krutwig, Zach, I would be a lot more intrigued by that pick, I guess.
100% agree with that.
Yeah, I just don't think this Ohio State's team is even the same as last year, and they lost last year. So
it's not. But
obviously, EJ Liddell is still there, and they're a very good team. I don't trust Big Ten teams in the tournament. I'm gonna be flat out. I'm not gonna apply that to every team. I think Loyola has a proven track record in the tournament and will make handiwork of Ohio State.
I definitely think that Loyola Chicago is going to win that game. But at the same time, as much as this Ohio State team is not the same, they definitely want vengeance. And I would not be surprised if that game goes the other way. So I have Villanova. You two have Arizona making it out. 2 teams who I definitely think could be on a collision course going into the Elite 8 in the West Final, or the South Final, I should say. But let's move on to the Midwest, which is headlined by Kansas. What do you guys think of this one? Is there any teams that you want to talk about? Any matchups?
You want to go ahead here?
Sure. I think this is the easiest path for a 1 seed to reach the Final Four.
Easily.
Yeah.
It's the weakest 2 seed. It's the weakest 3 seed. It's the weakest 4 seed. I had to bite my tongue to put Auburn in the Elite 8. Because in a perfect world, Tennessee should be there or Villanova, but instead it's Auburn, Wisconsin. But two teams trending downward. I saw on Bracketology and ESPN a lot of people are riding high with Iowa. They're a good team. I like Keegan Murray a lot, but I think they're a Sweet 16 team. They're a perfect Sweet 16 team. I think too many people are got that groupthink mentality with hyping up Iowa. I don't know.
I've bought into the Iowa hype. I'm not gonna lie. I do think Kansas makes it out of this division, but Iowa's hot at the right time. I think that's the consensus going around. And out of all the Big Ten teams, I really kind of wish they were a 4 seed on this side of the bracket, but not the 4 seed, almost a 3, I guess, because I wish they were in the lower half because they are a perfect tournament team. They're balanced scoring. Keegan Murray kind of does everything for you, and they're good defensively. So they're going to cause issues, and I think it's going to be Kansas's toughest game on their path to the to the Final Four, to the Elite Eight, whatever it may be. I think they will present the biggest challenge for Kansas.
I agree with that. I think Iowa could be a very good team. I have them beating a team, the 13 seed South Dakota State, who I want to talk about. I think there are two. I think that's probably my favorite matchup in the first round, the South Dakota State Providence game. South Dakota State, I believe, is on a 21-game win streak. Absolutely dominated the Summit League this year. Providence, I know they won the Big East, but I definitely think South Dakota State, give me the Jackrabbits for that game. They match up very well with Providence. I know it's going to be a bloodbath for that game. And unfortunately for Providence, I think you look at all the other 13 seeds, and they got very unlucky because South Dakota State is hands down the best win. In my opinion, they should have been a 12 seed. They should have been a bit higher than 13. The other team I want to talk about is Wisconsin, because I've seen a ton of people very high on Wisconsin, and then there's people like me who are somewhat low on Wisconsin. I know they have Johnny Davis, but where do you guys stand on Wisconsin right now? Because a lot of people just don't really know what that team is made of.
For a guy who claims to hate the Big Ten as much as I do in the tournament, I'm pretty high on Wisconsin. I think they make the Elite Eight. I think Johnny Davis, proven scorer. They have, in my opinion, the makings of a tournament team. I think they could beat Auburn. That's really all I have to say about it. Do I think they could beat Kansas? No. Do I think they could even beat Iowa if they matched up? I don't think so. But I think Wisconsin got a pretty lucky draw going against Colgate and then the winner of Iowa State, LSU. And Iowa State's a pretty solid defensive team, but I think either way, Wisconsin is a lock, in my opinion, for the Sweet 16.
Yep, I agree with Zach. Pretty nice draw there for Wisconsin. And by the way, they're playing those first 2 games in Milwaukee. So they got the home thing there. Yeah, I think that they could definitely beat Auburn if that happens. Again, I hate myself for picking Auburn to the Elite Eight right now. But you mentioned, Sam, South Dakota State, Providence. South Dakota State, a 2-point underdog. When was the last time we saw a 4 seed as only a 2-point favorite in a matchup? You're picking the Jackrabbits to upset that game?
Yes.
Zach, are you doing that as well?
I actually am, and I think. Look, I know the point you're about to make is that Providence might have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. I'm going to stick with my bet here, with the consensus here.
Nah, I got Providence. I think they're good to win exactly 1 game. But of course, I hope that they lose just so that I can clap back at our friend Liam Griffin. But that's about it.
Definitely. Who do you guys? I mean, I have Kansas. You have Kansas. Austin, you said Kansas too. Are we all in agreement with that?
One more thing I want to bring up before we leave this division. 7-10 USC Miami. It seems kind of consensus USC. I originally had Miami winning 2 games. I think Miami, very sneaky team. We saw them against Syracuse, obviously. Syracuse probably should have won both of those games, but Miami stays in games, and I think that's what you need to see out of a tournament team. Obviously, I'm trying to think of how they performed in the ACC tournament, but I think they're going to give USC a good fight, and I think Auburn's the better team, but they're going to give them a good game.
I completely agree with that. Staying in games is something you need to be for a tournament team, as well as shooting. I know they have a ton of guards. They might not be the best shooting team you can ask for, but they're still a pretty decent shooting team. Go ahead.
Yeah, to your point, yeah, they can shoot the ball. They have good guards, but when I looked at some of their stats, they had some harrowing stats. They are last in the tournament in opponent effective field goal percentage and also last in rebound percentage. As we saw, they play like 4 guards, one big man, and if they play Auburn, you can't stop both Jabari and Walker Kessler. And that's
I think even Isaiah Mobley is going to give him some issues, but I have Miami pulling out the first round upset. That's all I have, but
I agree.
Want to bring that up.
I agree with that. All right, let's move on to the final region, the East region, headlined by Baylor. Austin, did I start with you for the last one, or did I start with Zach for the last one?
Go to Zach to start here.
All right, we'll start with Zach.
I have the bracket pulled up here.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so obviously Baylor's the 1 seed. This is the 1 seed that I see getting upset very early. I think North Carolina, and this might be my boldest take of the day, North Carolina is going to make the Elite Eight.
Bold.
I grew up a North Carolina fan. I go to a rival school, so I don't claim to be a North Carolina fan. I think this is the makings of a tournament team. You obviously have what I'd consider to be the best defender in the ACC in Leaky Black. Great perimeter defender. You see how he held Buddy in check, and even Swider in his big game when they put Leaky Black on him, he was held in check. I think Caleb Love is a pretty special player. I think he's going to turn it up. Obviously, big man whose name I am currently blanking on, Armando Bacot, whatever.
Bacot.
Yep. I think he's the perfect big man for this team. Obviously, I'm going to have him losing to Kentucky in the Elite Eight, but I think they upset this Baylor team. I think they beat whoever comes out of St. Mary's, whoever they beat, UCLA and Akron. I think they win that game. I have them beating UCLA. I think this is a team that is poised to make a run in the tournament.
Definitely. I think this North Carolina team is definitely going to give Baylor a run for its money. In the end, I think Baylor will win this game. I think they're just the thing that scares me about North Carolina is when you put them against opponents when you put them against tough opponents, they don't really win that many games. They don't really have many quad 1 wins. That definitely scares me a little bit, which is why I'm taking Baylor in this. I looked at Zach's bracket and I looked back at my bracket, and one game that we both have in common is that in the first round we have Virginia Tech over Texas. And I definitely think that's a team that could be a sleeper team. I think they're going to give Purdue a good run for their money. They've been on fire recently, just won the ACC tournament. Purdue, I know, Zach, you're always like, I don't really trust any Big Ten teams. If you don't want a team to trust in the Big Ten, I think Virginia Tech can definitely beat Purdue. I have Purdue winning, though. I'm going to play it a bit safe. Another team I want to look at who could also give Kentucky, who I have going the Final Four, but watch for their round 32 matchup against Murray State, who, from a Bay Area person, is going to dominate San Francisco. Murray State versus Kentucky should be a very entertaining game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I want to hit on all those points that you guys made. I agree with North Carolina, not to the 8, but to the Sweet 16 with Zach. I think they match up well with Baylor as the weakest 1 seed. I think Brady Manick will make enough shots to get by them, and their guards can go up against their guards. I'm also very down on James Akinjo for Baylor. I think he'll mess up in that round of 32 loss. I also agree with you guys with Virginia Tech over Texas. That might be our ACC bias coming through, but I love them. I love Hunter Couture's approach to the game. And Sam, I mean, I got Murray too, but isn't San Francisco the Vegas favorite in that matchup?
They are.
I think I saw that they are.
Oh, I do not like that at all. I like San Francisco. I will say I like San Francisco a lot, but I like Murray State a lot more. Murray State is definitely one of my favorite teams in this tournament. I think if you put them, if let's say they were in the let's say they were in the matchup against Auburn, I think they would definitely beat an Auburn team like that. I just think this Kentucky team, I honestly think this Kentucky team could have been the 1 seed over Baylor. Tennessee, I definitely think, I mean, Tennessee should have been a 2 seed. I think that's what put Baylor over. The loss to Tennessee was a bit worse than Baylor, whatever. They lost to Oklahoma, right? I think Baylor just proved themselves a bit more before them, which is why they put Baylor as the 1 seed. But I have Kentucky going all the way. But also keep an eye on. I actually want to talk about UCLA for a minute. I have them losing to St. Mary's, and I think this is another thing with Wisconsin where a lot of people are optimistic about them, a lot of people are pessimistic about them. They underperformed this season. They came in as the 2 seed, and they finished like it's 17th or something. Gave Arizona a good run for their money. Where do you guys stand on the Bruins this tournament?
Really quickly, I just want to hit on the Murray State point. Mm-hmm. They lost 2 games all season, and then if you give them an in-state matchup against Kentucky, it's going to be a fun game.
Absolutely.
Anyways, UCLA, how do they match up against St. Mary's? St. Mary's is a very good defensive team. You saw how they played Gonzaga during the regular season. UCLA, I think they brought back a lot of their team. You saw them make a what was it, a Final Four run last year?
Yeah. Experience.
I'm gonna be honest. I think they match up well against St. Mary's. I think their scoring just outmatches St. Mary's defense.
Yeah, that was all. Yeah, the St. Mary's UCLA was another one I had to think about, but I agree with Zach. I haven't been a huge fan of the Bruins this season, and yet Ken Pom has been high on them a lot. So I don't trust Ken Pom all the time, but for this one, I'm gonna guide his algorithm, and I think that they go pretty far. But I agree. I got Kentucky to the Final Four, and I want to hear you guys because like every year there's usually a double-digit seed that goes to the Sweet 16. And for this region, for the whole tournament, I have Virginia Tech as my only Sweet 16 double-digit seed. I wonder if you guys have any of those.
I do have one, and I don't think you guys are going to like this that much. If I pull it up really quickly, just make sure I have this. Well, I have 2, actually. Okay, one is Davidson, who I said is being Duke. The other one, I don't think you guys are going to like this that much. Iowa State.
Oh, all right.
That let's hear why.
Sam, I've had a soft spot for Iowa State. I've loved them since the George Niang days and Monte Morris, Hilton Magic. So they're my second favorite college basketball team behind Syracuse, of course. However, they cannot score the basketball. They consistently put up like less than 50 points. Their stats are also just horrendous. They
score 66.5 a game.
They've had some stinkers. They are 262nd 3-point percentage, 280th in free throw, 234th in true shooting percentage. They don't rebound the ball very well. It's a lot of Isaiah Brockington. I get it. He's a good player, but I could see them winning that game against LSU because Will Wade, you don't know how LSU could react to their coach being fired right before the tournament. So they might win that.
They're going to be LSU because of that coaching thing. I just don't. There's too much uncertainty, and that's why I'm picking Iowa State. And then I think I'm a bit lower in this Wisconsin than you guys. I definitely think there's some things that I just don't like when I watch this Wisconsin team. There's nothing that really just stands out to me when watching them. It's just like, oh, they know how to play basketball. I just think this. What
exactly? That's the point. Wisconsin,
don't all these teams know how to play basketball?
Wisconsin will strangle Iowa State. They'll make it a low possession game. They'll slow the pace down. They're not going to turn it over. And Wisconsin, the over-under for that game will be insanely low. And Wisconsin would win that hypothetical game probably like 55 to like 40.
I agree.
Interesting. Well, all right. So those are my 2 teams that I have in the double digits making the Sweet 16. Zach, do you have any teams?
Low seeds. both coming out of the South Division. I have Chattanooga making the Sweet 16. I think if they can take down Illinois, which I think will be the tougher game to them, they match up well against Houston. So I have them losing to Arizona in the Sweet 16. We're over this, but Loyola Chicago beats Villanova, advances to the Sweet 16, loses to Tennessee. So no one making the Elite Eight, but two teams, same division. Those are the teams I have advancing Sweet 16.
There you go. And now Final Four. Let's just go around and give our Final Four teams because I know it's a bit different. For me, I have Arkansas, I have Kentucky, I have Villanova, and I have Kansas.
I went a little chalky. I have 2 1s. I have Arizona and Kansas, and then Texas Tech and Kentucky. Obviously, said Arizona is going to win the whole thing. That's my pick. It's going to be wrong.
Yeah, I have 3 of the 4 with Zach. Arizona, Kansas, Kentucky, and Gonzaga. And I feel weird going a lot of chalk with, everybody's like, oh, this is going to be the tournament of chaos. There's no clear-cut top team, which there is not. But these are the top 4 teams if I were to power rank them. And that doesn't mean they'll go to the Final Four, but I just playing it safe with that.
There you go. And I didn't say who won. I know Zach just did. I have Villanova beating Kentucky in the final.
And I got Kentucky beating Kansas in the final.
There you go. I think we're kind of in agreement with Kentucky and Kansas. Both going to make some very good runs. Other than that, it is March. It's chaos. That's all March is. And I'm excited for this tournament. I'm excited that we get to watch it, especially the first round for a day. We'll all be together soon, so I'm excited to do that. But Austin, always a blast having you on. Zach, as always, have you on every week. Always a blast doing that. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys love March Madness. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at @the_Sam Corcoran, at ZCope3 for Zach, at Austin_Barrett for Austin. We're going to be tweeting out a ton of March Madness stuff throughout this tournament, so you won't want to miss out. But that is going to do it, guys. We'll be back on track with episode 8 next week. This was just 2 special episodes I wanted to bring to you. Episode 8 will be next week, and I will see you guys then.
Teddy Bridgewater just got signed by the Dolphins.
He did.